Hi, I'm Helen from Los Angeles English School. I know that it can be rather challenging for non-native speakers to use reported speech. And why? Because a lot of different transformations need to be done. The previous video on reported speech was about reported statements, and in this video I would like to have a look at reported questions. So what transformations need to be done in order to report somebody's questions? We will look at it in this video, but first of all I would like you to imagine that we have a conversation between the owner of the private business and a manager of a bank. And this owner of the private company would like to borrow some money from the bank in order to develop his private company. And now let's listen to the questions which were asked by the manager of a bank.
Are you married? Do you own any property? What are your company annual expenses and revenues? How long have you run the dry cleaning business?
And now we're going with you to report the manager's questions that were asked during this interview. And let's have a look at the board. When we want to report somebody's questions, the most common words that we can use in order to report them that may help you are, for example, asked, inquired, wanted to know, or wondered. They are the most common words that you can use in order to report somebody's questions. There are two different cases which we need to know in order to report a question. If the direct question was with a question word, we need to leave this question word also in our reported question. If, for example, the direct question was with the auxiliary verb, for example, like do, is, did, or a modal verb, we need to know what words to use. And the first question, if you remember, was are you married? Are you married? It was the first question that was asked by the manager, and this question, are you married, doesn't have any question word. Here we have the auxiliary verb to be, are. If we have the auxiliary verb in the direct question, to report such a question, we can use the words if or whether. For example, you can say, the bank manager asked him, and now you can say if, or you can say whether. You remember that we need also to come back to the past. That is why we need to, instead of present simple, we need to make past simple. This information you can check in our previous video, how to report statements. So the bank manager asked him if or whether he was married. So since it's not a question, it's you make now a statement, and you need to say the bank manager asked him if he was married or whether he was married. Remember that words if or whether you use when you report questions, when the direct question had no question word. So the next question, if you remember, she asked him, I say the direct question, do you own any property? So do you own any property? Here in this question we also don't have a question word, we have the auxiliary verb do. Since we have the auxiliary verb do, we also can use the words if or whether. She also inquired, and you can say if or whether, and now you don't use any auxiliary verb, you don't use do, you just say your sentence as if it is a statement, not a question. So she also inquired if or whether he owned owned, so you transform present simple into past simple, he owned any property. So she also inquired if or whether he owned any property. The next question that was asked was, what are your company expenses and revenues? What are your annual company expenses and revenues? Here in this question we have the question word what. And if you report such a question, you need to use this question word in your question, in the reported question. So you can say the manager wanted to know, and now you use the question word what. The manager wanted to know what the annual company revenues and expenses, not are but were. So the manager wanted to know what the annual company revenues and expenses were. The next question that was asked, it was, how long have you run the dry cleaning business? So how long have you run the dry cleaning business? Here we have the question word how long. That's why you can say she wondered how long. She wondered how long he. So since we have present perfect, you need to change present perfect into the past perfect because we have the reported speech. She wondered how long he had run the dry cleaning business. Okay, so let's repeat this reported questions again. The bank manager asked him if whether he was married. She also inquired him if whether he owned any property. The manager wanted to know what the annual company revenues and expenses were, and she wondered how long he had run the dry cleaning business. So don't forget that if you have the auxiliary verb, you need to use the words if and whether in order to report the question. If you have a question word, you need to use this question word while reporting somebody's questions. And don't forget, please, to transform tenses into the past. So that's it for today. I hope that this video was helpful for you. Moreover, you can visit our website losangeles.englishschool.com and you will find some exercises in order to practice this topic more. And I'll see you in the next videos. Have a great day. Bye!